Well, it's vows, but like vows is never learned to pray. Never learned to pray. Dude, really beautiful song.
Thank you, man.
You know, I hear some of your scoring kind of side in that record.
Yeah.
You know, what's the story behind that record and how you wrote it and got the production done?
All right, so I'll take you on a tangent with the studio stuff because it's related.
Love it.
I already told you I built that studio with my partner.
Right.
It was our dream spot. I already told you we went through 2 years, a little less than 2 years, trying to cultivate, working on bodies of work with artists. Didn't quite get there, and it was a lot of heartbreak, and you know, worked on a bunch of stuff we're really proud of. A lot of stuff came out, a lot of exciting experiences and records.
Yeah.
But overall, towards the end of that period, it was frustrating.
Yeah.
Around that time, my production partner decides he's got to move back to New York due to family stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, shit, what do I want to do?
Right.
For the first time, I was asking myself in a long time, what do I want to do? And I had to admit to myself that the practice of walking into that studio every day, this is going to sound so fucking spoiled to anybody who's seen a photo of that studio and who's watching this. I became super paralyzed for the first time in my life, having literally everything I could ask for.
Yeah.
Like, I had the drums set up. I had 16 mics on the kit if I wanted to.
Right.
I had all the synths and all the guitars and all the folders full of more options to, you know, venture into. And for the first time, I felt really uninspired. And I felt like pressure. I didn't know where to start, you know, like, because I had so many places I could start from. Around that time, I also started really taking notice of the fact that a lot of my favorite records, a lot of my favorite art in general, was born out of limitation.
Yeah.
And I started to ask myself, like, why am I, like, obsessing over, like, these romanticized stories about people having nothing and making these beautiful things that I take with me for the rest of my life and hold up as, like, my favorite shit. But I'm over here with more than they've ever had, and I'm frustrated. And I decided to take a really big leap and just really limit myself for the entire year. I've not been in that studio for a year. I still have it. It's mine. I pulled my gear out. I have somebody else using it. And I was like, I am going to take my laptop, my 2-channel Apollo, and my late father-in-law's nylon guitar that means a lot to me.
Yeah.
And I'm going to work with that for the year. Like, I needed to, like, create parameters to work within.
Right.
I felt like I lost my identity, and I realized that so much of my identity as a writer, producer, artist when I was younger was born out of limitation.
Right.
So it just became this, like, year of limitation. And
would you say it brought you back to maybe focusing on just crafting songs?
Yes.
More than, okay.
yeah, which I'd heard that before.
Yeah.
Like, you hear the guys who are just like, I just want to have my acoustic guitar and just focus on the song.
Yeah.
It's easier said than done, right?
Well, of course, yeah.
And at those chapters, I genuinely enjoyed, like, mousing around in Ableton. So I was like, no, like, keep your acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
But I found myself in this place where I was in, like, emergency mode, you know? Like, it was like, I could go find another production partner, or I could share the studio, but I was like, I just need to do something extreme because I'm just feeling so uninspired and trapped and not fulfilled. And so I did that, and this song was one of a batch of songs. It was very much me messing around with, like, stuff I grew up on. Like, I grew up on a lot of Motown sounding stuff, kind of just playing through those old chord progressions and falling in love with songs again.
Yeah.
And then the really cool thing about what happened was, to me, is I think if I had that studio when I made the demo for this song,
Right.
I would have gone off on some novel path to, like, modernize the Motown sound, like some dumb shit that I would have come up with. I would have gone down that rabbit hole, but I couldn't do that.
Right.
Because I was limited now.
Right.
And so I was like, no, you're just going to work around this nylon guitar part that you recorded with this microphone in your living room. Like, and then I'm trying to think. I think I still had the studio. I was, like, transitioning out of the studio. This was, like, February. So I recorded the drums. Most of the stuff was broken down, so I had 2 mics on the kit.
Yeah. I was gonna ask one of the questions was about the kit because I love the drum sound.
That's my old
Yeah.
60s Ludwig kit that I've had since Envy on the Coast days.
Yeah.
Never got rid of it, never will. And it is an old, like, $200, what was it, like a KSM 20 something, whatever the cheap one was, sure, right behind the kick drum.
Right.
And then I don't remember what kind of mic it was.
Whatever.
It was something in the middle of the room.
Right, just to kind of like get everything else, obviously.
Yeah, that's it. I tried maybe 2 other combinations of things, like just overheads or like snare and overheads. And then when I stumbled upon that one, I was like, yeah, I want everything to feel pushed back and but still have some kick.
Right.
And that did it. And so that was the drum sound.
Yeah.
I did a bunch of takes of it and just kept one whole take. I don't, remember what take it was, but yeah, I just wanted it to be like one take. And then, and this is what's funny too, is like in finishing that song, I was now out of the studio. I had none of the access to all the toys. I had all my stuff, but it was in like various states of storage in my house. So it was like finishing the song, the decisions that were made were like part limitation and now straight up part laziness. Because if I had to like pull out synths, it was like, oh, damn.
That's a whole process.
Yeah, am I gonna get the Voyager out of the closet? So this is great actually. My old partner had a Mellotron. I used the hell out of the Mellotron.
Yeah.
It was on my list of things that I wanted to get once I was in another space or once I went back into that one or whatever. But I wasn't there yet.
Right.
So I'm like, all right, well, what am I going to use? Like, what am I going to do? And this whole like limitation thing that I put on myself, what was cool about it is I really want to emphasize that it's about limitation, what I did. It wasn't about being like a purist for analog.
Right.
It wasn't about like me and my acoustic guitar just, focusing on the songwriting craft. Like, sure, it's a byproduct.
Yeah.
But like all the string stuff, the like horn sounding stuff that's on there or whatever, all the stuff that I think you're reading is like score-esque stuff. It's a free plugin by, I think it's Spitfire Labs.
Oh yeah, the lab stuff. It's great.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It was what I had.
Yeah.
It was just what I had at that moment.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is what you have to work. You don't have a Mellotron.
Yeah.
And I'm thumbing through sounds. I'm like, what's the closest thing I can get to whatever this is? And it's slightly weird and slightly off because it's not that thing. It's not the exact thing I would reach for on the Mellotron to make.
It's not like that Mellotron horn sound.
Exactly.
That you want,
It's something weirder.
Yeah.
It's some like French horn bee swarm, whatever the hell they call it. And I'm like, cool, I'll manipulate this and we'll get it to do something cool.
For our listeners, like Spitfire Labs is like they make a bunch of free things inside the Labs thing that you can then open up and they're really fun and really weird and really cool.
And extremely limiting.
Yes.
Like,
it's like they have like a couple things you can do to them.
Exactly.
And it's like, but otherwise like that's the sound.
Yep. You can literally click a tab and it lets you know your 4 parameters, I think, you can mess with.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll get attack and release.
Yeah.
Sometimes not. And and that became exciting to me.
Yeah.
Like to like have to make stuff work with nothing. That became exciting. So that song was one of 3 or 4 that was really just taking a demo and deciding like, no, the demo is the song.
Yeah.
That's going to be, we're going to bolster and support the production around this performance that was very much supposed to just serve as a demo.
I mean, the performance too, and I know you're not going to praise your own voice, but like the performance is a lot of your own vocal. And I'm curious, like if you kept the limitations with that, how'd you go about recording your vocal for that song?
SM7 in my living room. I for this one, I still had the studio as I was in the process of leaving. I did do a day with whatever condenser was in there.
Right.
I've had every producer tell me that I don't sound great on an SM7, that I'm better off with the more expensive option, with the U67 or 47 or whatever it is. And then what happens is I've been doing this for a long time and I still cannot figure out how to trick myself the same way that I do when I'm just holding this. Because if I'm holding this and I'm demoing, something happens in my brain that says, no one's going to hear this. Have fun. And so I just do.
I think, dude, there's that very famous Coldplay story that the first album was done on an SM58 because Chris Martin, like, maybe this is what happened with you is that, like, you played live for so long and that, like, you just got used to that. Like, it's like muscle memory at the end of the day, right? And holding a microphone is a thing for people.
Yep.
It absolutely, truly is. My best buddy who we were talking about earlier, my buddy David Arkwright, when he records his vocal, he holds a microphone, but he holds a 103. he's very delicate with it. A TLM 103, it's like a condenser.
Yeah. Damn.
Yeah, but he's like, yeah, it's how I record my vocals, and I just like holding it.
Just
and
likes
like,
to physically hold
yeah,
it,
he just likes to hold it, and he gets great vocals out of it. But it's a thing I found with like certain singers, especially like he was in bands too.
Yep.
Like people that just like perform live all the time.
Yep.
And now we have so many people that like grew up singing in studios.
Mm-hmm.
I was one of those people for years where it's like because I was always playing guitar or playing piano.
Sure.
So I was never holding a microphone. So actually,
Yeah.
I hate holding a microphone. It's
Interesting.
super unnatural for me.
Oh, wow. I wish I had that problem.
Yeah, I've never done a performance where I was only holding a microphone.
Interesting.
But even for years though, I didn't like hearing myself in my headphones.
I can understand that.
Because I was so
those
used
phases.
to feeling it.
Yep.
I was so used to I didn't have in-ears.
Yeah.
Like until later on in my career. It's like that wasn't a fucking thing. Did NBA have in-ears or anything? You're just
The last chapter
Yeah.
of it. Yeah.
But
But
it's
I
like-
never got used to it.
No,
No.
it was always such a foreign thing
Yeah.
to me where it's like I just got used to like knowing it in my gut.
Totally.
Yeah, it's like a very interesting thing I've learned.
Dude,
Yeah.
and there's something about whatever's happening psychologically because
Yeah.
on this song, I went and I did 40 something takes
Yeah.
on the nice mic and I finished and I listened back that day and
It's-
was like, in that moment, I was like, you did it, dude. Like, you beat it. And then the next day I listened back and was like, no, you didn't.
No.
Like,
No.
what are you doing?
No.
You know? And it was like, sonically, of course it sounded better.
Yeah.
Like,
But that's not what like listen, I'm all about I tell people like, yeah, invest in a nice thing because you want to have it. But at the end of the day, it's always about the performance.
dude.